Welcome to the Deep Dive. This is where we take the sources you send us and, well, we really get into them to pull out the key insights. We're kind of your shortcut to getting up to speed. Today, we're diving into something sparked by your interest in the word contentious. So we'll be looking at what that actually means, maybe a bit about its background, and really importantly, some positive ways to communicate when you encounter contentious behavior.
Right. And you sent over a great batch of sources. Really diverse stuff.
Yeah, really helpful stuff covering argumentative behavior, productive conflict, which sounds interesting, assertiveness, boundaries, de-escalation, even constructive feedback.
A whole toolkit, basically.
Exactly. Our aim is to connect these dots for you, give you a clearer picture, maybe some practical takeaways, and, hopefully a few of those aha moments without drowning you in info. Okay. Let's jump in.
Sounds good. It really is interesting how one word, contentious, just opens up this whole area of human interaction.
Totally. You hear contentious, and you kind of immediately picture arguments, debates.
Yeah, things heating up. Topics that are likely to cause a stir. And the sources give us a good look at what that stirring actually involves.
Okay, so let's nail down contentious. Now, the specific OED definition wasn't in the materials, but based on standard definitions, it generally means something likely to cause disagreement or an argument.
It's that feeling, isn't it, when a certain subject comes up and you just brace yourself?
Yeah, you know it's coming. And that leads us right into the Behavior Help article, which talks about argumentative behavior.
Right, which they describe as that tendency to get into disputes, disagreements, debates, often with a feel that's, well, combative. Confrontational.
They even use the term argumentative and defiant behavior.
Adds a layer.
It's not just like a quiet difference of opinion. The article stresses it involves actively voicing disagreement, challenging others, really defending your own view, often with some intensity.
And it shows up verbally, of course, but also non-verbally. Tone of voice, body language.
Gestures, yeah, all of it.
But, it's important. And the Behavior Help article makes this point. Arguing itself isn't automatically bad.
Right.
It's actually pretty normal in relationships, especially families. We all have different views, priorities, ways of doing things.
Beliefs, ideas.
Yeah.
Misunderstandings happen.
Exactly. So some friction is just natural.
And kids learn how to argue, how to handle it as they grow up, right?
Yeah,
Guidance.
Yeah.
It's a skill, in a way.
It is. But, and this is the key distinction the article makes, it becomes a problem when it's too frequent, lasts too long, or gets way too intense.
And especially when it starts negatively impacting someone's life, their ability to participate, their relationships, just daily functioning.
That's the one.
And it was quite eye-opening, actually, seeing the link the article draws between that kind of intense argumentativeness and some mental health conditions.
Yeah, they list depression, anxiety, ODD, oppositional defiant disorder, conduct disorder, intermittent explosive disorder, even ADHD.
It suggests that sometimes what looks like just being difficult or contentious might have deeper roots.
Definitely something to consider. And the Behavior Help article actually goes into some of those potential roots or causes of argumentative behavior more generally.
Okay, so what makes someone more prone to it? The article lists quite a few things. Personality, for one.
Like being highly assertive naturally, or competitive, or maybe having a strong need for control.
Makes sense. And communication style clashes.
Oh, absolutely. If you've got someone very direct talking to someone more indirect, that mismatch can cause starks. They're just not on the same wavelength, communication-wise.
And emotions, obviously. Anger, frustration.
Fear, even. Feeling threatened or misunderstood can make anyone defensive.
The article also mentions cognitive biases, which is fascinating, like confirmation bias.
Yeah, where you only look for stuff that confirms what you already think. Or anchoring bias, getting stuck on the first piece of info. That can definitely make you dig your heels in.
If you're basically filtering reality to fit your view, yeah, you're not going to be very open. And feeling misunderstood or invalidated, that lack of empathy can really fuel arguments too.
Definitely affects self-esteem, makes people defensive. And then there are straightforward conflicts of interest, obviously. If you feel your goals or beliefs are threatened,
you're going to argue for them. What about broader context?
Good point. Cultural norms differ on how acceptable arguing is, and power dynamics play a huge role.
How so?
Well, arguing can be about asserting authority or challenging perceived injustice or just resisting control.
It's complex. So many potential factors. The article even mentions stress and fatigue.
Yeah, basic stuff. Being tired makes you irritable, harder to regulate your emotions, increases the chances of snapping.
And past experiences.
Right.
Like trauma.
Right. Unresolved conflicts or past hurts can leave people generally more defensive, more likely to react argumentatively later on.
And then, circling back, there's oppositional defiant disorder, ODD, as a specific driver sometimes.
Especially that pattern of defiance towards authority.
So maybe we should touch on ODD a bit more. The Behavior Help article gives a quick overview.
Yeah, it describes it as a mental health condition. A persistent pattern of defiant, disobedient, argumentative behavior specifically aimed at authority figures.
And it breaks symptoms into 3 types.
That's right. Angry, irritable mood, argumentative, defiant behavior, and vindictiveness. And you need, I think, at least 4 symptoms for 6 months or more, and it has to be beyond typical kid stuff for their age.
The link to argumentativeness seems pretty direct then, with that need for control and challenging authority.
Absolutely central to it. And yeah, it can really disrupt family life, school, relationships.
And the article stresses getting professional help for diagnosis and treatment. Early intervention is key.
And it lists common strategies, behavioral therapy like CBT,
Parent training.
social skills training, consistent discipline, maybe family therapy too.
Okay, so we've looked at what it is, why it might happen, but what's the impact? Like being on the receiving end of constant argumentativeness. The Behavior Help article covers that too.
Yeah, and it's tough. There's the emotional toll, just feeling frustrated, angry, anxious all the time. It wears you down.
Communication just breaks down, right? Heated debates instead of actual conversation.
Exactly, and that strains relationships, creates resentment, distance. People start avoiding each other.
And it hits your own well-being too. Stress, lower self-esteem, feeling emotionally drained.
Totally. In work settings, productivity tanks, teamwork gets really hard.
It can even make you more defensive or confrontational in response, kind of a ripple effect.
True. And making decisions becomes difficult when everything gets bogged down in arguments and personal agendas.
The article also mentioned modeling, like if kids see adults arguing constantly, it can normalize it.
Yeah, that's a big one. And over time, someone known for being argumentative can damage their reputation, become isolated.
And miss out on growth.
Yeah.
Because they're maybe less open to feedback if they're always fighting it.
Right. The article even notes the drain in schools, teachers spending so much time managing arguments instead of teaching. Affects everyone's learning and well-being.
Wow. Okay, so it's clear there are significant downsides. But let's pivot. Let's talk constructive alternatives. The sources offer some really good positive strategies, starting with productive conflict from the Run article.
Yeah, I liked this framing. It suggests conflict isn't inherently bad, it's about how you handle it.
So productive conflict is
An open exchange of different ideas, even opposing ones, where the goal is a solution that works for everyone. And crucially, people feel respected and safe expressing themselves.
psychological safety. That seems huge.
Absolutely. The benefits. Sparking fresh thinking, finding new opportunities, better problem solving.
People feeling able to share their vision without fear, raising concerns safely.
Exactly. And it contrasts this with unproductive conflict. Arguments that go nowhere, maybe get personal. Productive conflict is solution-focused.
And interestingly, the article says the absence of conflict isn't always good either.
Right. It can mean issues are just being swept under the rug, which can fester. A fear of conflict can actually be dysfunctional for a team, leads to passive aggression instead of healthy debate.
Okay, so how do we make conflict productive? What are the elements?
First, focus on the solution, not winning. Think teamwork. Value everyone's ideas. Maybe set ground rules for how you'll discuss things.
And safety is paramount. The article mentions mutual purpose and mutual respect.
Yeah, mutual purpose is about shared goals, believing in others' positive intent. Mutual respect is recognizing everyone's dignity, finding common ground.
Then there's active listening.
Right.
Really listening.
Not just waiting to talk. Fully focusing, understanding, showing you're engaged, repeating back, rephrasing, watching nonverbals, asking clarifying questions.
Minimizing distractions, too.
And empathy. Trying to see things from their perspective, even if you disagree. Being open to the idea that your way isn't the only way, or even the best way.
And finally, candor.
Open, honest expression, but balanced. Caring personally while challenging directly, Building trust through transparency. The idea is conflict can actually fuel creativity if handled right.
Okay, so productive conflict is one piece. What about individual skills? Assertiveness comes up next from the Center for Clinical Interventions article.
Right, another key positive strategy. They define assertiveness really clearly.
Which is?
Expressing your view clearly and directly, but while respecting the other person.
Finding that balance.
Exactly. And the benefits are significant. Less conflict, better anger management, getting your needs met more often, healthier relationships.
And it's crucial to know what it isn't, right? The article contrasts it with aggression.
Yeah, aggression is forcing your views. Bullying, only caring about your needs, no compromise, damages relationships.
And the opposite, passive communication.
That's not speaking up, putting others first all the time, letting people walk over you, quiet voice, maybe poor body language, undermining yourself. Assertiveness is that healthy middle ground.
So how do you practice it? The article has tips.
Yeah, practical stuff. State your point clearly, express feelings honestly, but also listen to theirs.
Use a normal volume, firm but not aggressive tone. Match your body language, eye contact, good posture, relaxed face.
Avoid exaggerations like always or never. Speak with facts, not judgments. Use I statements, I feel, instead of you made me.
And practice. Lots of practice in different situations.
Definitely. It's a skill to build.
Okay. Assertiveness helps you state your case respectfully.
Yeah.
But what about protecting yourself? That leads to setting boundaries, which Tara Cole's work emphasizes.
Absolutely vital, especially with challenging individuals. Cole talks about communicating boundaries as sharing your preferences, desires, limits, and your non-negotiables.
Just letting people know clearly what's okay and what's not.
Exactly. And effective communication is key. She mentions boundary bullies or repeat offenders.
Well, yeah. Those people who just don't seem to get it or maybe don't want to.
Right. She even suggests some might be emotional predators who know how to push buttons.
Wow. And our own history affects how easy it is to set boundaries.
Big time. If you grew up where boundaries weren't respected, it's much harder as an adult. She suggests identifying who drains you and reflecting on why.
And reminding yourself you have rights.
You.
The right to end intense conversations, say what you need, set limits.
And just say no. Without a long explanation. She does examples for handling pushback when someone won't take no for an answer.
The core message seems to be, you're the boss of you. You decide your boundaries.
Precisely. And if they're crossed, restate them. Clearly, calmly, consistently.
Okay, so you're being assertive, setting boundaries.
Right.
But things still get heated sometimes. That's where de-escalation comes in for the Peaceful Leaders Academy article.
Right. De-escalation is about deliberate actions to lower the tension, diffuse the conflict in the moment.
Slowing things down so you can think rationally again.
Exactly. Empathy, communication, mutual respect are the foundations.
What are some techniques?
Mental preparedness first. Staying calm yourself, managing your reactions, trying to see it as a shared problem to solve.
Then communication itself, active listening again, neutral tone and posture.
Validation is huge here, showing you understand their feeling or perspective, even if you don't agree with the content. I can see why you're frustrated, for example.
Asking open-ended questions to understand more.
And setting boundaries calmly within the de-escalation. I can't continue this conversation if they're shouting, stated calmly, redirecting back to the issue.
Nonverbals matter too, right? Calm expression, quiet space as possible.
Definitely. And avoiding things that escalate it further. Don't dismiss their emotions. Don't interrupt constantly. Maybe offer time for reflection. Stay focused on solutions.
Okay, that's a lot of great stuff for handling difficult moments.
Yeah.
But what about giving feedback? Maybe when someone's behavior is the issue. The Forbes article on constructive feedback tackles that.
Yeah, because sometimes you do need to address problematic behavior or performance. But how you do it matters immensely.
Constructive feedback isn't just criticism.
Not when done well. It's about clarifying expectations, offering new perspectives, improving performance, even boosting morale if handled right.
So, key principles. Be direct, ideally in person.
Be specific and timely. Address the issue soon after it happens.
Focus on actions, not the person's character. Use those I statements again.
Crucially, provide solutions or suggestions for improvement. Don't just dump the problem on them.
Make it a conversation. Get their input.
Yeah, empower them to be part of the fix. And, importantly, be open to feedback yourself. Model that behavior. It builds a better culture.
Effective delivery needs positivity, empathy, and solutions.
That sums it up well.
Okay, wow. So as we kind of wrap up this deep dive into contentious behavior and communication, we've really covered a lot of ground.
We really have. From understanding the word itself and the roots of argumentative behavior, the negative impacts.
To exploring all these positive strategies, productive conflict, assertiveness.
Boundary setting, de-escalation, constructive feedback. It's clear they all weave together, don't they? They're all part of healthier, more effective communication.
Understanding these dynamics really is valuable. For work, for home, just for getting along better and feeling less stressed.
these aren't just theories, they're practical skills we can all work on.
Absolutely. So for everyone listening, maybe take a moment to think about these ideas. How do they relate to your own life? Maybe look back at the sources you sent. And here's a thought to leave you with. What's one small, concrete step you could try? Implementing just one of these positive strategies the next time you anticipate or find yourself in a potentially contentious situation, what difference could that one small change make?
It's worth exploring. We definitely encourage you to keep thinking about these concepts, maybe revisit the resources. Hopefully this dive gave you and more effective communication going forward.